It was just another regular Monday when Brown came back from work to find the apartment quiet. Not the peaceful kind of quiet, but the heavy, hollow kind that creeps into your bones. Nellie hadn't texted him all day, which wasn't normal. Even on her busiest days, she always sent something, a selfie, a meme, even a quick "I miss you" just to make him smile. But today, nothing. He tossed his keys in the bowl by the door and called out, "Nellie?" No answer. The silence wrapped around him like a blanket soaked in cold water. He walked through the apartment slowly, his heart thumping louder with each step. Her coat was gone. Her shoes were gone. The toothbrush, gone too, and then he saw it. A folded note on the dining table, his name written in her handwriting. He opened it with shaky hands. "Brown, I need time to think. Please don't text or call. Me, I'm sorry. Nellie, no explanation, no goodbye. Just a note like their 2-year marriage was a random errand she had to run. For 3 whole days he spiraled. Called her, texted her. Nothing went through. Blocked. She had blocked him. Brown couldn't believe it. The same woman who had once cried just thinking about a life without him had cut him off like he was a spam caller. And then came the blow that knocked the air right out of him. James, his coworker, his so-called friend, sent him a screenshot from a gossip site. There she was, Nellie, all glammed up, holding hands with that smug bastard, Cade Mercer. Cade freaking Mercer. The Hollywood poster boy with abs carved from CGI, the smirk of a man who'd never been told no, and a list of exes that could stretch from LA to New York. Brown stared at the picture. Nellie, looking like someone else. Makeup thicker, dress shorter, that vacant smile celebrities teach you when the cameras flash. And Cade looking like he owned her. "I thought you said she hated celebrity drama," James said on the phone that night. Didn't she once call him emotionally constipated during that interview he gave? She did, Brown replied, his voice dull. She also said she couldn't stand guys who use their fame to hide their flaws. So what changed, Brown? Couldn't figure it out. At first he thought maybe she'd had a breakdown. Maybe the pressure of being married, of not having the life she dreamed of, finally cracked something in her. Or maybe he just wasn't enough. The days passed and the tabloids didn't stop. More photos, more headlines. Cade Mercer's new. Mystery woman. Sources say he's in love. And Brown, meanwhile, became invisible. Just a footnote in someone else's upgrade. Until one Friday night. He was at a small gallery event. Marion had invited him. She was Cade's ex. They'd dated for a year before he dumped her for career clarity and left her in a pile of tears and NDAs. Marion had her own reasons for keeping a distance from the spotlight, but tonight she looked like she had nothing to prove. "Let them think what they want," Marion said with a wink as she clinked her wine glass against his. They never get the story right anyway. They weren't even pretending to be a couple. They laughed, shared real conversations, and for the first time since Nellie walked out, Brown felt human again. But the cameras? They only needed one shot. By morning, the internet exploded. Cade Mercer's girlfriend caught cheating with his ex. Love triangle? Cade's ex, Marion, spotted cozy with girlfriend's husband. Nellie unblocked him 2 hours later. And just like that, the tables began to turn. Brown didn't open her message right away. It sat there, staring at him like a ticking bomb on his screen. Nellie, unblocked. One new message. His fingers hovered over it for a good 5 minutes before he tapped it open. "We need to talk." That was it. No, "Hi," no, "I'm sorry," no, "How have you been?" Just that flat message like she hadn't ghosted him for a D-list movie. Star. He stared at the words, bitterness creeping in. But curiosity, stupid damn curiosity, made him reply. Talk about what? The typing dots appeared instantly like she'd been waiting. Everything. Please. Just one conversation. In person. For a second, he actually considered ignoring her. Let her feel what it's like to be dismissed. But he wasn't that guy. And some part of him, maybe the part that hadn't caught up with the betrayal, still needed answers. They met the next evening at a quiet park away from paparazzi eyes. She wore a hoodie and sunglasses, her blonde hair tucked into a messy bun. When she saw him, her lips parted like she didn't expect him to actually show. "Brown," she said, like the name physically hurt her to say. He didn't answer. He just looked at her. "I didn't plan any of this," she started. "I swear I didn't cheat on you. I met Cade at a fashion event. He was charming, and I was just, I don't know, lost. I felt like nothing in our life was moving." "So you blocked me and ran off with a celebrity?" Brown said, voice low and steady. "That was your solution?" She looked away, lips tight. "I didn't know how else to deal. You were always working. We barely talked about us anymore. I needed something." "You needed fame?" he asked. "Or someone who looks better in a magazine?" "No. I needed to feel wanted again." That hit like a punch in the ribs, as if he hadn't given her everything. As if she hadn't been the center of his world, even when he was drowning under overtime to pay for that world. She kept talking. "Cade isn't what I thought. He's cold, controlling. The photos, the dates. It's all for PR. His manager planned the mystery girlfriend thing. I thought I was special to him, but I was just a prop." Brown raised an eyebrow. "And what do you think I was, Nellie? Your warm-up act?" Her eyes filled with tears, but he didn't feel sorry for her. Not yet. "I made a mistake. I know that now." He stood there, watching her fall apart under the weight of her choices. But before he could speak, her voice cracked again. "Why Marion?" That made him laugh, really laugh. "You block me, disappear with some fame-thirsty actor, and you're asking me why Marion?" She looked down. "I guess it just hurt to see you with her. So fast, so happy." He shook his head slowly. "You know what, Nellie? It wasn't fast. You left me weeks ago. You made your choice. Marion didn't chase me. I didn't even know she existed until she showed up at that event. But she listened. She didn't look at me like I was disposable." Nellie stepped closer. "I miss you." But Brown took a step back. "No, Nellie. You miss the version of me who adored you unconditionally. The one who would have waited forever. That guy's not here anymore." She looked stunned, like she'd expected him to crumble the second she said those 3 words. "Maybe we could just start over," she whispered. He looked away for a second, then met her eyes. "You started over without me." She stood there. As he walked away, tears sliding down her cheeks, and for once he didn't turn back. "Want me to keep going?" The next few days felt weird. Not good, not bad. Just that numb in-between space where your heart hasn't caught up with your mind. Brown didn't feel triumphant or healed, not yet, but he didn't feel broken anymore either. More like something had clicked into place, like he'd finally stopped waiting for the past to apologize. Marion called him that evening. "So, paparazzi are still stalking my building," she said with a dramatic sigh. "Apparently, we're the internet's favorite rebound couple now." Brown chuckled, lying on his couch with the lights off. "Glad we could give them a new storyline." She hesitated for a second. "You okay, really?" "I think I'm getting there," he said. "I met Nellie today." There was a pause. Then, "You didn't get back together, did you?" "No. She wanted to, but no. That door's closed." "Good," Marion said, softer now. "You deserve better than a woman who ditches you for a camera flash." Brown sat up. "What about you? Cade reach out? Only to yell at me for embarrassing his image." She snorted. "Can you believe that? Like I was supposed to stay single just in case he ever got bored and needed arm candy again." "Sounds about right," Brown muttered. There was a silence between them, not awkward, just thoughtful. "You know," she said eventually, "we could lean into this. I mean, we already broke the internet. Might as well enjoy it." "You saying we keep pretending?" Brown asked. "I'm saying maybe it doesn't have to be pretending. That one sentence sat in his chest like a soft weight. Not crushing, not uncomfortable, just unexpected. "You want a date?" he asked slowly, as if testing the words. She laughed, warm and light. "Well, when you put it like that, it sounds like middle school. I'm saying, let's not fight it. You make me laugh. You're not fake. And let's be honest, we both already know what it's like to date selfish people. Maybe it's time we try something real." Brown leaned back, smiling at the ceiling. "Okay," he said. "Something real." Their first official date wasn't fancy, just a hole-in-the-wall pizza place with terrible lighting and the best garlic knots in town. They talked for hours. Not about fame or betrayal or the people who let them down. Just about music, old movies, dumb childhood memories. Brown couldn't remember the last time someone actually listened to him that closely. By the end of the night, she kissed him on the sidewalk. Quick, sweet, no cameras in sight. "You're a good man, Brown," she said. "Don't let her make you forget that." The next morning, the gossip blogs had a new headline. Cade Mercer's ex and her new flame, real or revenge. Brown read it while sipping his coffee and laughed. He didn't care anymore. Let them gossip. Let Nellie read every headline and wonder what might have been. He wasn't angry now. He wasn't even hurt. He was moving on. But that didn't mean the past was done with him, because 2 weeks later, Marion knocked on his door, pale and shaking with a phone in her hand. "You need to see this," she whispered. It was a video. Leaked. A hidden camera clip from Cade's house, Nellie and Cade screaming at each other, Cade throwing things, yelling about setting him up, accusing her of being a spy for that loser ex. Brown's name came up more than once, and suddenly what looked like a petty breakup wasn't so simple anymore. "Why does he think she was spying for you?" Marion asked, her voice tight. "I don't know," Brown said, but even as he said it, a chill crept up his spine. Because if Cade was paranoid enough to film Nellie, to throw accusations like that, what else had he been hiding? And why did Brown suddenly feel like this wasn't just about broken hearts anymore? Want to keep going? Brown stared at the video again, this time with the volume low, catching every word. Cade was pacing like a man, unraveling, voice raised, hands flailing, cursing Nellie out for being a distraction planted by that broke-ass ex-husband. "You think I don't see it? You think I don't know you're feeding him shht?" Cade shouted, voice cracking. "You're still in love with him, aren't you? That's what this is. You think you can play me?" Nellie, visibly shaken, kept repeating, "You're paranoid. You need help. I didn't tell Brown anything." But Cade wasn't listening. Brown paused the video, heart pounding. This wasn't some petty lover's spat anymore. Cade sounded unhinged. "Dangerous." Marion rubbed her temples, pacing behind him. "Why would Cade think she's working with you? What could she possibly give you that he's so desperate to hide?" "I don't know," Brown muttered. But even as he said it, a knot twisted tighter in his stomach. He remembered little things. Times Nellie mentioned uncomfortable things Cade said off camera. Business deals that didn't sit right. The time she came home after one of their getaways and couldn't sleep all night, just sat staring at the wall, silent. Back then, he thought she was just overwhelmed. Now it felt like something else. "I think Nellie knows something," he finally said. "Something about him. Something he didn't want her to know. And now he thinks she told you," Marion finished grimly. That night, Brown couldn't sleep. He kept going over the video, Cade's words looping in his head. The fury in his voice wasn't just about jealousy, it was fear. Real, wild fear. At 3 a.m., his phone buzzed. Unknown number. He almost didn't answer. But something told him to. "Brown," Nellie's voice came through, low and shaky. "I don't have much time. I think someone's been following me." His blood went cold. "Where are you?" he asked instantly. "A motel in West Hollywood. Room 107. I didn't know who else to call. I think he's trying to ruin me. Or worse. Please come." Brown didn't hesitate. He threw on a hoodie, grabbed his keys and told Marion everything. She wanted to come too, but he said no. If this was some kind of setup, he needed to know alone. The motel was a rundown spot tucked between a liquor store and a 24-hour laundromat. The kind of place where people kept their heads down and their doors double locked. He knocked once. "There'll be?" Door opened fast. Nellie looked like she hadn't slept in days, hair a mess, eyes red, hands shaking. "I'm sorry," she blurted out before he could even speak. "I never should have left. I got caught up in something, Brown, and I didn't realize how deep it went until it was too late." Brown stepped inside, locking the door behind him. "Start from the beginning." She sat down on the bed, pulling her knees to her chest like a scared kid. Cade's not just a pretty face. He's got connections, bad ones. His manager, he launders money through film projects, fake ones. Cade plays dumb in public, but he knows. He's in on it. Brown's breath hitched. "And you found out?" "I overheard them arguing one night, talking about fake investors, offshore accounts. I didn't understand all of it, but I knew it was serious." "Why didn't you go to the cops?" She laughed bitterly. "And tell them what? That a washed-up actor and his greasy manager are doing shady deals? I had no proof, and they're protected. Cade said if I ever spoke about it, I'd regret it, that he'd ruin me. And I believed him." Brown sat beside her, trying to piece it all together. "Why did you reach out to me now?" "Because I think he's going to pin it all on me. He's setting up a fall guy, or girl. He'll say, I stole from him, leaked info, whatever it takes. And now that he thinks I'm working with you, we're both targets," Brown finished quietly. She nodded, tears in her eyes. And in that quiet, claustrophobic room, surrounded by peeling paint and buzzing neon, Brown realized something. This wasn't just about heartbreak anymore. They were caught in something bigger, dirtier, and if Cade thought he was going down without a fight, he didn't know who he was dealing with. "Want me to keep going?" The next morning hit like a hammer. Brown barely slept. Nellie dozed off for maybe an hour, curled up under the thin motel blanket, but every noise outside made her flinch. The tension in the air was thick enough to taste. He could feel her guilt, her fear, and maybe, somewhere buried deep, her regret. But that didn't matter now. They were in it together, whether they liked it or not. While she slept, Brown stepped outside to make a call. Marion answered on the first ring. "Tell me you're not dead," she said. "I'm alive," he muttered, "but it's worse than we thought." He told her everything. Cade's laundering, the overheard conversation, the threats, the paranoia. Marion stayed quiet through all of it. Finally, she said, "You know this could get really bad, right? If what Nellie's saying is true, you're not just fighting over a relationship anymore. You're stepping into a whole other world." "No," Brown replied. "That's why I need your help." "I'm listening. I need someone smart, someone who knows how this works. You were with Cade for a year. You saw more than you realized. Think. There's got to be something. Emails, accounts, a trail we can follow." Marion sighed. "Give me a few hours." Brown hung up and walked back into the room. Nellie was awake, sitting up, watching the door like it might burst open any minute. "I told Marion," he said. "She's on it." "You trust her?" He looked her in the eyes. "Yeah, I do." Nellie nodded slowly, as if accepting that was part of her penance. "Good. You'll need someone who doesn't look at you like I do." He didn't respond to that. They both knew the damage couldn't be undone. By late afternoon, Marion texted, "Meet me, now. I have something." They drove to her apartment. Brown behind the wheel, Nellie slouched in the passenger seat with her hood up. The paranoia was setting in thick. Every car behind them felt suspicious. Every face on the street could be watching. When Marion opened the door, she looked different. Serious, focused. "I went through my old laptop," she said, waving them inside. "Back when I was dating Cade, I used to handle some of his PR emails. Thought I deleted all that stuff after we split." She handed Brown a USB drive. "There's a folder, emails between Cade and his manager. talking about investor meetings that never happened, mentions of offshore wire transfers, and this is the big one. There's a spreadsheet. Fake casting budgets for a movie that never existed, Nellie gasped. That's it. That's what I overheard them arguing about. Cade was screaming that the numbers didn't add up. Brown looked at the USB drive like it was a loaded weapon. This could get him arrested, Marion nodded. It could also get us followed, or worse. They stayed at Marion's that night, safer than the motel. Marion insisted. If Cade finds out Nellie's with you, she's exposed. Here, at least, we can keep the lights off and lay low. The three of them sat around her tiny kitchen table, the USB drive lying between them like a time bomb. What now? Nellie asked. Brown leaned back in his chair. Now we make it public. If we go to the cops, Cade will know. He'll have time to cover his tracks. But if we leak it, anonymous, straight to the media, he can't spin it fast enough. Marion nodded slowly. I have a contact, tabloid journalist, kind of scummy, but when he smells a real scandal, he doesn't let go. Perfect, Brown said. Nellie didn't speak for a while. When she finally did, her voice was almost a whisper. Do you think he'll come after us? Brown met her eyes. I don't think. I know he will. And he was right. Because the next morning, Marion's apartment door had a note slipped under it. No return address, no name, just 4 words scrawled in black marker. You'll regret this, Brown. Want me to keep going? The note sat in Brown's hand like it was pulsing. Just 4 words, but each one cut deeper than the last. He read it again and again, not because he didn't understand it, but because he did. It was personal, direct. This wasn't a random scare tactic. Cade wanted him to feel it. Marion looked pale. He knows you're with me. That's not just a message. It's a warning. Nellie had gone completely still, like someone had unplugged her. Her eyes were locked on the floor. I should have never dragged you into this, she said quietly. Too late, Brown replied. We're all in now. He stepped out to check the hallway. Empty. No cameras, no neighbors peeking. But the silence felt off, like someone had just left seconds before he opened the door. Back inside, Marion was already pacing, phone in hand. I'm sending the files now. I'm not waiting. I'm not giving him time to threaten anyone else. She shot off the files, every email, every document, every file on the USB drive, to her contact at the blast line, a digital tabloid that fed off scandal like sharks. Then she looked up at them. Now we wait. The hours crawled by. They stayed in the apartment with the lights off and the curtains drawn. Even the sound of a passing car outside made Brown tense up. By nightfall, the article dropped. Exclusive. Cade Mercer. Caught in fake film fraud. Leaked emails reveal shocking. Scam inside the A-list. Actors' hidden network of shell companies, dirty money, and PR lies. It was brutal. And it went viral. In 1 hour, Cade's scandal was trending. By the end of the night, every entertainment outlet had picked it up. Brown watched the coverage with a strange mix of satisfaction and dread. It wasn't over, not even close. At around, midnight, Nellie's phone lit up with a call. Unknown number. She didn't answer. Then came the text. You think this ends with headlines? She showed it to Brown without saying a word. He grabbed his phone and called James, his co-worker, the only other person he trusted outside this little war room. I need a favor, he said. Can you pull the security feeds from your building? Why? James asked, already sounding nervous. Just do it. And if you see anything strange, anyone hanging around my old place or Marion's, call me. Immediately. James didn't ask more. He just said, okay. They didn't sleep. Marion sat with a baseball bat near the door, just in case. Nellie lay on the couch, eyes wide open, breathing too fast. Brown stood by the window, looking out into the dark. I don't think he's gonna run, Marion said quietly behind him. Guys like Cade, they don't run. They fight back. Dirty. Then we stay louder than him, Brown replied. We keep feeding the truth until he's got no one left to lie to. Morning came like a slap. A knock at the door jolted everyone upright. Brown moved slowly, carefully. Who is it? It's James, came the voice. He cracked the door open, then let him in. James walked in holding a flash drive. You're not gonna like this. He plugged it into Marion's laptop, pulled up the footage. It was from Brown's old building. 3 nights ago, Cade's manager, on camera, hanging around the garage, wearing a hoodie, taking pictures of license plates, checking mailboxes. This is stalking, Marion muttered. This is hunting, Brown corrected. James handed him another paper, printouts from Cade's latest film, the one he claimed was shooting off the grid. Only, there was no location listed, no official paperwork filed, no tax credits claimed, nothing. The whole project was fake, a shell, and now that it was exposed, Cade had nothing to lose. You think he'll go after you personally? James asked. Brown stared at the screen. He already has. Then he looked at Nellie. We can't hide anymore, we go public, us, not just the files, not just anonymous leaks, our faces, our voices. Nellie's face twisted with fear. He'll come for us. He's already coming, Brown said. Now it's just about how loud we scream when he does. Want me to keep going? They didn't. Waste time. That morning, Brown and Nellie sat down in Marion's tiny living room, a cheap tripod propped up in front of them with Marion's phone mounted on it. The light filtering through the blinds cut harsh lines across their faces, but they didn't care about perfect lighting or polished words. Brown hit record. This isn't a publicity stunt, he began, voice steady but tight. This is our story. My name is Brown. Until recently, I was married to Nellie, who you've probably seen in the tabloids next to a celebrity who doesn't deserve the air in his lungs. Nellie looked straight at the camera. No makeup, no glamour, just raw. I was part of his world. I thought it was exciting, powerful, fun. But behind the scenes, Cade Mercer is not who you think he is. And the people around him? They're worse. They use fake film projects to move money. They use people like me to distract you. They took turns telling the truth. About the threats. About the fake investors. About the way Cade had twisted their lives for image control. Marion stayed, behind the camera, but added her voice when it mattered, backing every word. I was with him for a year, she said. I saw the same patterns. I kept quiet because I was scared. I'm done being scared. By the time they finished, the video was over 10 minutes long, not flashy, no editing, just real. They uploaded it to every platform, YouTube, Twitter, Instagram. Marion used her old connections to push it harder. Within hours, it spread like wildfire, and that's when the chaos hit. Brown's phone wouldn't stop buzzing. Interview requests, threats, support messages, anonymous calls. He ignored most of them, until he got one from an unknown number with a video file attached. He clicked on it. It was footage of his car, parked in Marion's building. Someone zooming in on the license plate. Then the camera panned up, and there it was, his face. Through a window, the caption read, "You should have stayed quiet." He showed it to Marion and Nellie. Neither said a word. That night, Marion's contact at the blast line sent a warning. Sources close to Cade say he's planning to leave the country. But before that, he wants to handle things. Be careful. Handle? Brown repeated. What does that mean? Means he's desperate, Marion said. And people like him, when the walls close in, they get violent. The next 48 hours were a blur. 2 tabloid anchors aired the story. 3 more outlets started digging into Cade's financials. A small-time actor came forward claiming Cade's manager offered him $20,000 to pretend to be in a film that never happened. The dam was breaking. But then, another knock. Middle of the night. This time, not James. Not a delivery, a brick thrown straight through Marion's front window. It hit the floor hard and rolled to a stop at Brown's feet. Attached to it was a note. "You wanted real? Here it comes." Nellie screamed. Marion grabbed her bat. Brown froze. Not in fear, but something colder. Resolve. "This ends tomorrow," he said. "We're not running. We're not hiding. I'm done letting this guy play puppet master." He picked up the phone and called someone he hadn't spoken to in years. His older brother, an attorney, a quiet powerhouse. "I need a press conference," Brown said. "With legal backing. We've got the proof. I want the whole world watching when we end this." "You sure?" his brother asked. "Yeah, I'm done being someone's silence." The next day was going to be war. "Want me to keep going?" By morning, the press was already circling like bloodthirsty birds. Cameras were camped outside Marion's apartment, reporters shouting through megaphones, drones buzzing above like flies. Brown's brother Calvin had pulled every string he had to secure a space: neutral ground, secure location, and live media access. A mid-sized law firm conference room became the battlefield. Rows of chairs, a backdrop with the firm's logo, microphones at the front. Brown stood near the window, watching the journalists shuffle in, adjusting ties and lip gloss, whispering into earpieces. "You don't have to do this," Nellie said behind him, arms folded, her voice trembling. "Yes, I do," he turned to her. She looked different, stronger now, but more fragile at the same time, like someone who had lived through a storm and still hadn't dried off. Calvin approached, tall and sharp in a navy suit. "You got 10 minutes. Keep it tight, keep it calm. I'll handle the legal framing. You just tell your story." Brown nodded. Marion adjusted her blazer. Nellie stayed seated, silent, like a ghost of the girl who once thought a movie star could save her. When they stepped out into the lights, the room fell quiet. Brown took a breath. No shaking, no stuttering. "My name is Brown. I'm not famous. I don't have followers or sponsors. I'm just a man whose life was torn apart by someone with more money and power than morals. But this isn't just about me," he gestured, toward the table where the USB drive, printed emails, photos, and bank statements were spread out. "This is about exposing someone who has used his celebrity to defraud investors, manipulate the media, and threaten those who stood in his way." He walked them through the story, the lies, the manipulation, the fake films, the offshore accounts. Then Calvin stepped forward, his voice the opposite of Brown's, cool, surgical. He outlined the criminal implications, the legal action in motion, the requests being filed to freeze Cade Mercer's assets. The cameras snapped. Journalists scribbled furiously. Then came the bombshell. Marion stood and took the mic. "Cade Mercer tried to silence me. Then he tried to scare me. But I have nothing left to lose, and I won't protect him anymore." She laid out her side. Dates, texts, payments. And finally, Nellie stepped forward. Her hands were shaking, but her voice didn't crack. "I was foolish. I wanted to feel seen, important. Cade gave me attention when I was starving for it. But that attention became control. It became surveillance. He threatened me, manipulated me, and when I tried to leave, he made it clear I wasn't allowed to." She turned to the cameras. "I'm not perfect. I betrayed someone I loved. But I'm not going to let my worst mistake define me anymore. Cade Mercer is a fraud, and he's dangerous." The room erupted. Flashbulbs, shouting reporters, questions, flying like bullets. Calvin stepped in, shutting it down. "That's all for now. Any further questions will be addressed through our legal counsel." As they exited through the back, security tight, Brown could feel the shift. The air had changed, the power dynamic flipped. They weren't hiding anymore. By sunset, Cade Mercer's face was on every screen, but not as a heartthrob. Actor under. Federal investigation for fraud, threats, and abuse allegations. Multiple sources confirm Cade Mercer's film empire a sham. And finally, police launch search for Cade Mercer. Amid reports, he's fled his Beverly Hills home. Brown stood in Marion's living room that night, watching the footage of Cade's security team panicking, reporters crowding the gates, helicopters circling. He's gone, Marion said quietly. Nellie, seated across from them, looked relieved, but Brown wasn't smiling. No, he said. He's hiding. There's a difference. Because men like Cade didn't just vanish. They waited. They watched. And they came back when they thought everyone forgot. But Brown wasn't going to forget. Want me to finish with the final part? The final part didn't come with fireworks or some neatly wrapped ending. There were no parades, no "we told you" so celebrations. Just a strange, aching stillness that came after months of adrenaline. Cade Mercer was officially missing, last seen boarding a private jet registered under a dummy corporation. The FBI confirmed an investigation had been opened, but no arrests. Not yet. Marion had turned her life upside down. She handed over every scrap of evidence, gave sworn statements, even appeared on a late-night news segment. People praised her for being brave, for standing up to power, but they didn't see the sleepless nights. The bat by her door. The way she flinched whenever an unfamiliar car pulled up on the street. Nellie moved into a friend's place uptown, somewhere quiet, somewhere anonymous. Brown helped her carry the boxes, and for a few hours it almost felt like the old days. "I don't expect you to forgive me," she said, pausing with a box in her arms. "But thank you for not letting me get buried under all this." Brown gave a small nod. "You did what you had to. I did what I couldn't walk away from." They didn't hug. No dramatic tears. Just the kind of goodbye that wasn't said. Out loud. Back at his own apartment, Brown opened a beer and collapsed onto the couch. Everything ached. His shoulders, his mind, his sense of peace. But he was free. Finally. Truly free. Not just from Nellie, or the shadow of Cade Mercer, but from the version of himself who used to think love meant losing yourself to someone else's storm. A knock came at the door. Marion. She leaned against the frame, holding a pizza box in one hand and a six-pack in the other. "Thought maybe tonight we try being normal." He let out a small laugh. "Do you even remember what normal feels like?" Not even a little. They sat on the floor, legs stretched out, eating cold slices and watching terrible TV with the volume low. For once, the silence between them wasn't filled with tension or what-ifs. It was just easy. Marion nudged his foot with hers. "You know this isn't over, right?" Brown nodded. "Yeah, but now we've got the upper hand." "You ever think maybe the world's just built to protect people like Cade?" "All the time," he said. "But I also think the world's starting to pay attention to the ones who fight back." She raised her bottle. "To survivors, then." He clinked his against hers. "To starting over." As the night deepened, Brown leaned back and looked at the ceiling. The headlines would fade. The noise would die down. Cade would either resurface or disappear for good. But Brown. He wasn't the man begging for love anymore. He wasn't the fool waiting for someone to choose him. He was the man who pulled truth from the shadows and refused to stay quiet. And whatever came next, he was ready.